All right, so again, welcome to February's Lunch and Learn. Ramon and his team are marking 12 years since the launch of Peralta Design, with offices in Shelton and in Palm Coast, Florida. Dedicated to launching brands for hundreds of clients in the US and worldwide, Peralta Design's slogan is "We Launch Brands," reflecting their creative digital marketing talent and mission to help entrepreneurs, startup companies, and businesses launch their products and services in the digital space through dynamic branding and digital marketing strategies, integrated social campaigns, intuitive custom websites, and compelling video content. So without further ado, here is Ramon Peralta.
All right, guys, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited for today's Lunch and Learn, and hopefully we'll have some great questions at the end. And I see a lot of dear friends and associates and strategic partners have joined in. Most of you know me. I just want to give a little background. I was on the team behind Priceline.com. I worked at Walker Digital for about 10 years, trying to catch lightning in a bottle twice. Those that really know me know that I got laid off in 2008 and did some soul searching and launched Peralta Design to help others launch their brands and launch their companies. This past year, I would say the last 12 months, I've relied heavily on content marketing, which is what we're going to talk about today, putting out a lot of content. And because of that content, I was picked up on a number of panels with local chambers. That led to an appearance on NPR's Marketplace, and that led to a TV appearance on the Today Show. So there's a direct correlation between putting out content and raising brand awareness for your company, whether it's nonprofit or for-profit. We're headquartered in Shelton, Connecticut. We have a full-time staff. We're at 75% capacity. We're wearing masks in the facility, and when we're in the conference room, and there are a couple of us that are still working remotely. And I really see us in the future for everyone. We're going to have a virtual component to whatever we do, because there will be a segment of our population that's just more comfortable remote, and so we look forward to that adaptation as best we can. Our capabilities, we launch brands. That's our tagline. And so we focus primarily on these service offerings. And we like to think of it as a rocket ship, if you will. There are the three components that we focus on, being branding, being what you really see, primarily, as the tip of the rocket, right? Your branding, your messaging. The website being the hull of the ship, and the digital content and the digital strategy being, what thrusts you forward. So we're going to focus on content strategy today because it's more important than ever. We got such a captive audience. We've got eyeballs online more than ever, and it's a great way to differentiate yourself from the competition. And in order to kind of have a good content strategy, we really want to start from the beginning, and some of this is going to reiterate some of our base content from our BrandU series, talking about branding and messaging, but we're really going to talk about how do you monetize that, how do you create meaningful content that's sustainable and that is going to engage your company's target customers. So that's really what we're gonna talk about. And here's that visual that I was describing. Those that know of us know that we use the rocket metaphor, and we launch brands. And really, this is how we break it down. Your branding, that's what most people think of when they think of your logo or your messaging, but it's a lot more than that. But it is what people see primarily. I want you to think of your website, also your digital footprint. That is, if somebody Googles you or your company, what are they finding, or where do they see you, or where are they consuming your content? That's essentially the hull of your ship. That's kind of like your 24-hour store. If you're converting people online while you're sleeping, if you have clients in other time zones, is your website working for you around the clock, whether that's data capture, email capture? Is there a quid pro quo? Are folks downloading content and then exchanging their information with you for that content? Are they filling in a form so that they're, you know, self-identifying as being interested in your products or services? Are they buying content? Are they registering for events? Are
Hey,
they?
Ramon, just quick
Yes.
observation. I think we're still on the intro slide. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay. It looks like sharing is paused for some reason. It's moving on my screen, but maybe it's a co-host thing. But thanks for pointing that out. Because
There you go.
There it is.
Hey, that looks.
So I'm gonna go again and see if I can. Let me know if it's moving now.
Yes, we're on the your slide.
The team slide or me?
You.
Your slide.
Okay. Okay, so there's something here with sharing is being paused. Bring your shared window to the front. Let's see here. So when I do a full screen, it's not allowing me to switch gears.
You can, I mean, I can still see that if you don't move it.
Close the slide layout, you'll be fine. On the right.
Thanks, Tim.
If you share your desktop, instead of sharing just the PowerPoint presentation, it should take care of the issue so that way you can go through your slides.
All right, so I'm going to stop share and I'm going to try it again. And is it moving now?
No.
Okay, so there's something going on with the sharing. So I'm going to share. What about now? Are you guys seeing my whole desktop or just the presentation?
Just the presentation.
We see the team.
All right.
We see the slides on the left and then the middle slide.
Okay. Yeah, this hasn't happened before, so trying to.
Yeah, sorry. I feel like we troubleshooted the presentation, but then not running through the whole.
Can you just make me a host and see if that changes it?
Sure.
All right. Thanks, guys, for your patience.
And flip the page.
You're on our capabilities.
How about now?
Not moving.
No. Do you sometimes, is this the screen that you're sharing? I wonder if it's because it's not the full screen that you're sharing. In that window. I don't know why it's not picking it up though. If you just want to make that screen larger, we could see that. I don't know if the sharing the desktop works as well. I think someone mentioned that.
That's not it.
I don't know if you shared it with me, if I could run it through, but I don't know if I'd have the same issue. And yeah. I don't think we have that program. We use PowerPoint.
Okay.
Sorry, thanks everyone for your patience. I'm learning something right now too.
All right, let me see if I can play it off. Instead of playing it off Keynote, I'll play it off of PDF and see if that works.
Josh says, are you able to change the view on the left? And you can change the zoom to like potentially a larger number, but this could work too.
All right, let's try this. Are you guys,
Yep.
is it,
It just
Working.
went forward. Yep.
all right, so we won't have the funky effects, but it'll still work. All right,
Perfect. Thank you.
all right. So we'll go back to the rocket ship. This is where I left off. Can everybody see it now?
Yes.
All right, let's get some clapping. So I think I left off where the website, your web and your digital footprint were the hull, and really what we're going to talk about is the digital content strategy, or the thrusters that are going to elevate your brand above the competition. For many people, the branding is they just think of it as a logo, but there's so much more to it, right? There's everything below that tip of the iceberg. Your mission statement, your vision, your promise, your target demographic, all of this stuff is going to really drive the content that you're presenting. Some brand differentiators. Some things to think about as you're developing content is, what is your brand story? What's unique about you, your company, your organization? What makes your company different? Who are and who should be your customers? And what are your basic beliefs, your values, and social causes? And if you haven't been living under a rock, you realize how important social causes are to brands and to consumers. We'll talk about that as it pertains to your content strategy. The differentiation strategy is important as well. It's basically, what's your competitive advantage? What's unique? What is the unique value proposition? And how can you turn that into some actionable steps? So you want to create content that's communicating those differences throughout your strategy. I'm a golfer. I don't know how many golfers are joining here, but this is just an example of the swing thoughts that go through your mind, in 1.5 seconds that you're about to hit the ball. And those that are out there that play know that if you're trying to think of all these things, you're really not going to make any contact at all. So in your branding and in your messaging, you want to make sure that your brand thoughts are like swing thoughts, that if you have too many of them, it's not good. So try to keep it simple and memorable. Top 3 brand thoughts. This is like a basic guideline for when you're thinking about what your brand thoughts are that you can communicate in your content. There should be 3 main ones. What do you offer? How will it make my life better? And what do I need to do to buy it? So if you're driving traffic to your website, for example, with your content, within 5 seconds, your audience should be able to understand these 3 things. Or if they hear you pitch, or if they have a brochure that they're reading, whatever it is that you're using to communicate, make sure that you're getting at least these 3 brand thoughts across in that collateral. I want to talk a little bit about brand identity design, and this was a project that we recently completed. It's been getting very close to launch. They're out in Bloomfield. But this is something that, because we're coming out of this pandemic, people are getting vaccinated. There's this optimism. There's a second wave of PPP. People are kind of getting comfortable with reopening and getting back out there. It's a great time to look at this as it pertains to your strategy. For this organization in particular, they were having some challenges in that the perception was that the only people that they took care of were Jewish people, because they had Jewish Family Services Care at Home in their name, or JFS Care at Home in their name. And they wanted to make sure that they were communicating through their branding, through their website, that they were going after all types of walks of life as far as their care. Even though they wanted to continue to have an affiliation with JFS, they shared a common board of directors. We redesigned their brand identity so that the JFS came second and Care at Home came first. And it's something to consider when you're looking at your content, at your branding, at your website. Who is your target? What is the company personality? What's the psychology even in the corporate colors? And I've recently shared some content on that on social media. And what design elements can be migrated from the prior identity to the new one? And in this case, it's more of a brand evolution than a rebranding. So we'll talk about the digital footprint a little bit, what that means and what makes a good website. We provide a free report card to folks, and this is a great way for you to kind of understand how your website's functioning. Think of your website as your home, and think of content marketing as sending out invitations. And so if you're sending out invitations and people come to your house, does it look abandoned? Does it look like people live there? Is it easy to tell which way I should be coming in? Is it clear where the front door is? Is it clear that I should knock or push the doorbell? So those kind of things are things you should kind of get in order before you begin a content strategy or any kind of strategy to drive traffic to your website. The design of the site, the UI, the user interface, the user experience. Is it clunky? Do people know what to do when they get there? How does it perform? How fast does it load? And SEO, is it organic and paid? So search engine optimization is important. Content strategy, as you'll find out, is a great way to kind of have some organic SEO or drive traffic to your site without paying for it, but it requires a lot of work. It requires you or someone on your team to create the content, to post it, to share it. And then the paid, of course, is Google Ads, or even just boosting some of the content that you're sharing on social is going to help drive traffic. So it's really good to know how your website is scoring, and make sure you button it up before you begin that process. Getting found is important. So just talked a little bit about. Sorry about that. It is live. So we're talking here about the things that separates your business from potential customers. How easy is it for you to be found? And there's a lot that you can discover just by looking at Google Analytics. And we're going to share a screen on that so you can see what's available, so you can see whether or not your content is actually moving the needle for you. Some SEO basics, some things that you can make sure are in place on your website as you begin to strategize for content, is just making sure that you have enough keyword density. Some folks are like, well, I don't need a big website, or I just need a one-page website, or I just need a two-page website. If you don't have a lot of page depth, then you don't have a lot of keyword density, then that's going to adversely affect you being found, and you're going to have to rely more on paid search versus organic. Some of the meta descriptions, this is something you can discuss with your web team or your web developers. Make sure that you have the right meta descriptions, the right page titles, that it's friendly on mobile. Believe it or not, there are still websites that don't play well on mobile. And make sure that you have a current SSL certificate, because on certain browsers, Chrome in particular, people are going to get an error message that the site is not secure. And with the advent of so much hacking and cybercrime going on, you don't want to have any kind of e-commerce on your website and then have an expired SSL certificate. So there are some real kind of, consider this kind of housekeeping that you can be doing to make sure that that you're ready to develop this content strategy. Payperclick is a paid SEO strategy that we talked about, and you can have keywords that you're highlighting, certain search terms that you're highlighting. You can really get specific, just like you can on social, with who your target demographic is. And there's something to be said for retargeting, so that if folks are going and searching things on Google, that your ads appear when they've been to your website, when they go to social, there's a way for you to kind of follow them with cookies or with the Facebook pixel. So there's a lot to be done there to make sure that you have the right kind of foundation. So let's get right into content marketing, which is what we're all here for. And definitely content is king. And so you've got to be putting out content. It's kind of the idea of, like, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there to hear it, does it make a sound? It's like the same thing. If your company is doing things in the community and nobody knows about it, does it really happen? If you don't take a picture of your meal and put it on Facebook or Instagram, it's like, did you really go out to eat? It's this idea that if people aren't seeing your company or you or your content out there, that you're really not going to be on the radar. And the neat thing is that long forms of content can be chopped up and used for a lot. You can get a lot of mileage off of giving a workshop or giving a presentation or any writing a blog. You can take pieces of it, and I'm going to show you how a lot of that works. And think of this as long form versus short form. And long form can be the foundation for a lot of different things. So you can get a lot of mileage out of it. You can take that short content from pillar content. That's another word for it. And you can utilize it on email, social media, all different types of advertising and platforms out of the same content. I, for example, utilize Scribe. I wanted to point that out because over the last 12 months, I've put out probably over 65 2-minute videos that I post on IGTV, on Instagram. And I just do a variety of topics. And it was these videos that got me on the panel for a local chamber, that got me on NPR, that got me ultimately on the Today Show. And these things are, the reason I'm pointing out Scribe is because 80% of folks that watch video content are watching it with the sound off. Many of them are multitasking, or they're doing it in a place where they can't have sound. And so it's very important that you use some type of captioning software. I happen to like Scribe. It's cheap, it's easy. I figured out how to use it. And I get these videos done in one take, and it takes me about a half hour from when I film it to when I post it. So it takes time, it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of practice, but it's something that you can do yourself. And some of the questions that I typically get when it comes to creating content like this is, what kind of equipment do I need, and what kind of a lighting do I need? And honestly, if you use your computer's camera or you use your phone camera, you're going to get really good quality. And we're going to talk about the authenticity of it. Is that I'd rather have you read and stutter and stumble and be real than to feel like you've got to read something that may come off as inauthentic. So be yourself, be real, use what you got, and it goes a long way. Another piece of content that we put out is a podcast. So something that a lot of people are doing. There are a lot of tools out there that's easy, and believe it or not, it's a great way to highlight your clients, to highlight your strategic partners, and it's a lot of fun. And so we're currently putting out a new episode every other week. It's available on Spotify, but this is another example of branded content. So gives you we named our podcast Mission Control. It ties in with our rockets. It supports the brand. Think of putting out a podcast, or at least be featured on a podcast. And if anybody on here is a subject matter expert and would love to be on our show, I'd love to have you. But it's a great way to reinforce yourself, your company, as subject matter experts. At the end of the day, all the content that we're generating is to reinforce yourself as a subject matter expert and to stay on the radar. Also, do what others aren't, right? So if you want what you haven't had before, you've got to do what you've never done. And if you want to take your business to the next level, you've got to think of, well, what can we be doing to help others that other folks just simply aren't making the time for? And one of the things that we do is we put out a code camp. And this year we did it virtually due to COVID. You're helping kids, you're doing something fun, and it also allows you to put content out so that people know, hey, out of all the agencies that I could pick from, I feel like working with an agency that is helping kids, so you can think of it that way. Another thing we're doing, again, this is more branded content to give you an example of what you guys can do, is we're putting out a segment called BrandU Live, where some of our team members just literally go live once a month on Facebook, and we talk about a variety of different topics. And this is just one of those things that's fun. You can do it. There's StreamYard, there's Be Live. There's all these different platforms that will allow you to go live, basically take your Zoom call live on the air and take questions in real time from folks. It gives people a peek into who your team members are. It gives people a peek into you as a subject matter expert. And if you take this again and make a shorter clip, let's say you do a 1 hour BrandU live, or you go live with a segment, you can take smaller clips from that and do a 30-second segment or 60-second segment and put it on Instagram, put it on your LinkedIn. And I do want to say something about LinkedIn is that over the last, I'd say 9 months, they've really done a lot to enhance it, and it's gotten stickier and there's a lot more engagement on it. And recently they just added a feature where you could double tap on a photo and like it instantly, like Instagram. So they keep pulling things that people like from Facebook and Instagram, and they keep adding it to LinkedIn. And if you're in an industry that's B2B, you definitely want to have a presence on LinkedIn. Branded content strategy again continues. This is a Rocket Fuel is a email newsletter that we put out. Again, you can see how naming these things aligns with your branding and it reinforces your brand. It's another communication tool, and you want to do all of these. You know, the answer is yes. Gary Vee says the answer is yes. If you have a company and you're wondering, should I have a newsletter? Should I have a podcast? Should I have a blog? It's a lot of work, but the answer is yes. If you want to get your name out there, you want to make sure that you're casting as wide a net as possible, because you don't know how your target audience may be consuming your media, right? So you may have some clients that are younger. Well, then they're going to be on Instagram. You may have some clients that are older. Well, they're going to be on email. Make sure that you're reaching them where they are. And a branded newsletter, you can do this once a month. Once you have that template done, it's automatic. But I highly recommend that you incorporate an email newsletter into your content strategy. So I want to give you an example here of like what a sales funnel typically looks like. Ultimately, we're driving visitors to our website for two reasons. We have the free report card request, which oftentimes leads to a proposal, which oftentimes leads to a job. So it's a numbers game. So we give away something. So what is something that your company can give away that adds value to your potential clients? And for us, giving away a free report card takes an initial investment of us investing in that software, and it takes the initial investment of the time it takes for us to generate that report card. But oftentimes, if we generate a report card and the person doesn't score well, if they score well, great. If they don't, then they say, well, okay, thank you, but how do I get to an A? You gave me a D. How do I get to a B or an A? It gives us an opportunity to write a proposal. Our free consultations or our questionnaires, which lead to free consultations, are also another thing that we drive people to our website for. So if you go to our website, there's a questionnaire that we ask people to fill out. What can you have on your website that actually asks somebody to do something that helps them self-identify to you as a potential client? So for us, our questionnaires are there, whether they are interested in branding or web or digital. They fill in that questionnaire. That comes in. Now we know that this is a qualified lead. All right. So how do we drive traffic? How does this all happen? If you start from the left side of the screen, you can see that we've got our podcast, our monthly virtual events, that we extract audio for that. For our podcast, we extract video for our YouTube channel. We extract content for our Facebook Lives. Then we can take that even further and highlight that as an ad on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And then that's how we end up driving traffic back to our website. And we retarget those folks. And then it creates this cycle where they've self-identified, we have their email addresses, we add them to our database, we send them our newsletter, and it creates this flow of awareness. And you can see it happening in real time. Now, you may be wondering, what type of content should I be putting out, right? Because people are like, well, I know I can put content out that I'm a subject matter expert, but what else can I be doing? What else is going to help me appear to be different or communicate the authenticity of my brand, or what makes my company different from the others? This is a famous quote that I've been using for quite some time. By Howard Schultz. And you know that when they had the racial incident at the Starbucks, they shut down for a day to do the training. And they had an issue with the Black Lives Matter movement, with the t-shirts and so forth. But one of the things that he understands is that If people believe they share values with a company, they'll stay loyal to the brand. So remember that brands are human. So your content marketing should keep that in mind. We saw a lot of that happen over the last year, especially when it came to COVID. And we saw companies like Zappos and Crocs come together. And look, people weren't buying shoes. I'm actually wearing house shoes right now because I'm working from home. So I'm not going through as many pairs of shoes as I normally would, as many of you are that are working from home. So Zappos is an online shoe company. So they ended up partnering and they ended up giving away Crocs to the folks that are on the front line. So it's a great way to create content, to do something good, to stay on the radar, even if your business has to pivot or your business is suffering during this time. Porsche and Volkswagen and Audi, they did something where if your warranty expired during the pandemic, when it was really at its peak, they extended it by 3 months. I think they thought it was going to go away, but it was still a gesture that a brand did to say, well, what can we do during this time? It didn't cost them anything. People weren't bringing their cars in to get checked out. So if your warranty expired, they made that effort. What can you do locally? So one of the things we did to create content was we highlighted what we called our power partners. So we created a hashtag where folks that were clients, organizations we belong to, strategic partners, we highlighted them all and we put them on our social, and we just basically said, hey, support these businesses. And it was just something that we did, and we didn't see any other agencies doing it. We didn't do it because of that primarily. We honestly did it in the interest of helping, but it created content for us. So sometimes the content that you create doesn't necessarily have to be about you. It could be about helping some of your partners. Early on, we spent about $3,000 on masks with our logo on them, and we created a hashtag campaign, hashtag reopen safely. And we basically said, hey, if you want a mask, let us know. We shipped them out, and then we asked people to take selfies, and then we posted those selfies. So this was an example of user-generated content that we used that kind of said, hey, we felt like the voice of reason was getting lost. It was either companies were shutting down or companies weren't abiding by any guidelines. And the message in the middle that we wanted to get out was that there's a way to reopen if we do it safely. Another thing that I do a lot of is I do a lot of mentoring, and the CEO as face of the brand is something else that you should consider as you develop a content strategy. So somebody within your company has to be the face of your company. If it's you, what are you doing out there to help others, and how can you put that out there and create more content for yourself? And so this is a great example of something that I'm doing that aligns with our mission to help small businesses. This is a co-working space in New Haven that pivoted because nobody was coming there. So they said, let's create a cohort to help small businesses. And they asked me to be a mentor, and I volunteered. And now you're putting yourself out there. They're putting content out there to help support that. Brand activism. I want to spend a little bit of time on that because it's so important right now with everything going on with social justice, politics, police brutality. You just see brands really making statements, and people really care about it. And during the Super Bowl, Ben & Jerry's put billboards in Tampa about the whole movement that was started by Colin Kaepernick. And one of the things that you'll notice by Ben & Jerry's, Patagonia is another example. Every time they stand for something, every single time they stand for something, profits go up, their sales go up. And people think like, well, I don't want to risk losing any business. I don't want to really say what I feel. I want to stay quiet on this. But if there are issues that matter to you and your brand and your company, it's very, very important to make a statement. So Patagonia is very big on the environment. So they actually sold these labels into their clothing. And because they care about the environment so much, they wanted to get rid of anybody that was saying that global warming wasn't real. and they took a stand, and their profits go up. Okay, so take a stand. If you're wondering what kind of content should you be putting out there, take a stand. Take a stand on what matters to your brand, to your company, and let it be known in the content that you put out. Okay. Having an issue sharing again. All right. So be a social responsible company. Operate on a business model that focuses on social change. We're seeing that a lot. There's like a percentage right now of 80% of millennial consumers want to support brands that are socially responsible. They want to work with companies that are doing something about what's happening in the world. You know, if you're silent, you're complicit. That's basically what it is. Bombas is another example of a brand that's doing something. Again, probably people aren't going through socks as much as they were going through. So they're donating socks because homeless shelters, the number one item that they're looking for are socks. So that's one way that they really stood out as a brand. Again, they're taking a social stand. Their social stand happens to be homelessness. And we just mentioned that 80% of millennial consumers expect the brands they support to take a stand on social issues. So how do you grow your audience? How do you monetize that content? We have a client in New Haven that's trying to build their database by educating people on what lobbying is all about. So we created this ad for them, and they're using content to grow their audience. So you're wondering, well, what is it beyond positioning my business as subject matter experts? How can I make money with this? How do I grow my database? These folks are growing their database by giving away an ebook that they produced, which explains what lobbying is. So maybe you can create something with your business that's educational, that'll help grow your database as a quid pro quo. You're seeing folks take courses that they provide, like this. For example, if you give a seminar, if you give a course, you can turn that into an ebook and have it be downloaded in exchange for their information, or you can create an online course with your information and you can charge for it. And there are a lot of platforms out there, Talent, LMS, eFront, Kajabi, LearnDash. These are what are called LMS systems or learning management systems. And you can incorporate into your existing WordPress site a platform that can be kind of behind a paywall. So if somebody either subscribes to your content on a monthly basis, you can charge for it and they have access and they can take these courses. And we're seeing a lot of like, counseling, practices, accounting practices, housing development, economic development practices, where they're, instead of giving away their content for free, they're putting it behind a paywall, and people can, kind of have this passive, you basically create some passive income from your business by utilizing content. So how do you know if it's working? We're getting towards the tail end. I want to leave some time for question and answers. But how do you know if it's working? It's very important to look at the data. This is some basic Google Analytics that you can have on your website. And I just wanted to share that last year I wrote a blog about the Goya CEO and some statements that he had made and people talking about boycotting Goya. And when I released that blog, there was a huge spike in web traffic. And you can see it. You can see it like the day that it's released, you can see your web traffic go up. Recently, I wrote a blog about the Aunt Jemima package redesign. So I'm in the branding space. It's Black History Month. It was like totally, it was brand evolution. They changed the name. They finally dropped Aunt Jemima. It was a huge deal. I wanted to write about it. I wrote about it, posted it on all my social platforms, and I immediately saw a spike in web traffic. So it's very important that you can see that this isn't just fluff and hot air, but that it actually works. It's actually, if you do it right, a content strategy is going to drive traffic to your website. And another thing you can see is, where is the traffic coming from? This is something that we pulled from our analytics today. You can see that folks are coming, the direct means that folks are literally typing in our URL. The green organic is people are going and finding us on Google. They're typing in keywords and we're coming up based on content. Social means that people are coming to us from a link that they may have seen on Facebook or some other platform. So it's very important to see. And referral means that somebody came to us from another website that has one of our links on it. So it's very important for you to see where's traffic coming, you can't do it all. So you want to kind of focus on like, what is the most type of content that I should be putting out and what platforms seem to be getting me the most traffic. In the conclusion here, I want to end with this law of authenticity, right? Personal brands form real consumer loyalty. There's only one you. So people are going to copy your taglines, your colors, some of your service offerings. They may even try to copy your model, but they can't copy who you are. So really, you want to get that communicated. And I think personally, the best way to people to understand who you are is doing talks like this, writing blogs, posting videos. Let people know who you really are. And that's really I'm telling you, nobody can copy that. And so it's a great way to develop content strategy around authenticity in your branding and in the brand of your company and in your company's voice. Some books I like to recommend that I love: The Go Giver. It just talks about giving away. Give away your information. I know it's counterintuitive. It's a short read, but it's really powerful for your business and for developing content. Just think of it as helping others instead of selling, right? Good to Great is a great book that I love. Just if you have a company, you want to take it to the next level, it's really helpful. Building a Story Brand, I highly recommend that book. If you're trying to figure out your narrative, it's always good to refresh it. And they have a curriculum on their website that ties in with the book. And it really gives you some neat, formulas on how to develop good content. Couple of books that I'm working on. I'm going to be in this anthology called If I Knew Then, because many of you, like I said, know that I got laid off in 2008. Have been building this company and using content, and I'm also doing writing a book called Launch Your Own Brand, which is going to have a lot of these strategies in it. And I'm hoping to launch both of these this year. With God's grace, it'll get done. Thank you for hanging in there through the hiccups that we had in the beginning. Just wanted to share our contact information. We are located locally. We are proud members of the BRBC. We love Bridgeport. I met my wife in Bridgeport. I love this area. And I think we have a unique kind of ecosystem where we all help each other. And I'm really proud to be a part of that. And I just want to thank the BRBC for this opportunity. And I think we have about 13 or so, 12 minutes or so for questions. And I love to be able to answer some of them for you. So thank you.
Awesome.
I just want to say thank you so much, Ramon. This was very invaluable content. There's so many notes I took and a lot of things to dive into. So I do want to open it up for questions. Feel free to write in the chat or raise your hands, but we can chat for a little bit. So.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi. Hey, how's it going? Great presentation. I thought everything was excellent. I did have a question, however.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that we talked about, or you discussed having a face of your company. Well, my company is basically a few of my partners, and we are kind of working, outside of our main job, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So
like
for me, so for me to be, or any of us to be, quote unquote, the face of our side job, like what would you suggest there in order to create content?
That's a great question, because honestly, I don't know that I would have quit my job and started my company unless I got laid off. So I kind of got kicked out of the nest. But so to say that you're going to just break out one day and do it, that's not usually what happens. I think most people do what you're doing, which is like you're doing it on the side while you guys have your steady paychecks. You can take some risks. So just think of it as the company being the face. So you really have to focus on the vibe and the voice of the company itself, and highlight the work that you're doing, and let the customer be the hero, or the work that you're doing be the hero, or the success stories that you may be producing be the hero. So you're not necessarily focusing on the CEO, since you can't do that right now. But I think that the type of clients that you're helping, the success you're bringing to those clients, there's a way for you to brand those case studies so that they're the hero, and people associate those success stories with the brand of your company. So that would be the approach that I would take.
Nice. I like it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for the question.
Absolutely.
Hi, I have a question if I can jump in.
Yes.
I serve like two populations because I'm a nonprofit that gives financial assistance to chronically ill people.
Mhm.
I'm putting out content both for the people that we offer assistance to, but also the donors that support the work that we're doing. So when you're talking to nonprofits or people that are serving more than one target audience, how much content would you recommend is directed at each group?
That's a great question. I mean, I think you want to kind of have a nice balance of the two, and look to see where your clients are coming from, and that could change from month to month. So I would look to see, look at traffic, look at sales, look at what you consider a contract, and see where are they coming from. Is it mostly nonprofits? Is it not? And let that kind of dictate it. And it could change. It could change from month to month. So you don't want to alienate anybody, but you want to be sensitive to where your sales are coming from. I made a big mistake early in my career. I had launched a flavored golf tea company called Tasty Golf Teas, and I had an opportunity to attend one show in Florida. We had enough money to attend one show, and there were two shows going on. One was a golf show, a PGA merchandise show, and another one was an ASI show, which was Advertising Specialties Industries, where all the tchotchkes come out. And I was so hell-bent on thinking that my flavored golf tea was a golf product and not a tchotchke that I insisted that we attend, the golf show. And we blew our budget on the golf show, and we subsequently had to close shop. We shut our business down. And then when I realized that if I had paid attention to where my sales were coming from, I would have realized that most of our sales were not coming from pro shops, but they were coming from tournament directors that were looking for a fun giveaway item. So in fact, it was a tchotchke. But my vision of what I wanted it to be was different from what my customers were telling me it was. So if you're ever in question of what content to be putting out there, look at engagement, look to see what gets the most shares, but look to where your sales are coming from. That's ultimately what's going to drive it, and not what you might think it is.
Right. Thank you. Really helpful presentation. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I've got a question from Tom Dillon on the chat. What kind of guidelines do you use to measure ROI for marketing spend? And that's a great question, because we deal with it all the time. And it goes down to like, what is a client worth to you? I'll give you an example of a financial company that is trying to get into the PPP game. And I'm not calling it a game because it's not important, but they just see it as an opportunity to help businesses that may have been overlooked the first time. So they're launching this company. They want to spend money on advertising, and they want, we basically asked them, what are your goals? And they were like, well, we want to get 6,000 applications a month, and we want to be able to process that. In order for them to get 6,000 applications a month, we have to ask them, well, based on that number, in order to get that much traffic, and we look at, well, what percentage will we convert? it ended up being that the math was going to be something crazy. Like they would have had to have spent like $420,000 a month, in order to get 6,000 applications. And even that was going to be kind of like a maybe. And so we said to them, well, how much are you making for per application? They were going to make like $50 per application. So that would have been like a losing proposition. If they're going to make, $30,000 per app, to get 6,000, why would they spend $420,000? So it wouldn't make any sense. So we basically said, this is not the right approach. Here's something more realistic. Maybe you can get 500 applications a month, but you have to align the expectations of the client to what it costs to acquire a customer to what you're going to spend per customer in advertising. So you have to look at all of that. And if it doesn't make sense, don't even bother, So only until you know what it costs per member can you really determine what you're willing to spend per customer. And then you can do some metrics, and then you can do some forecasting. And then I would say most ad placements are going to be done on a 30-day cycle. So after every month, you want to look at that data and say, well, what worked, what didn't work, and you want to change that from month to month. You don't want to just keep digging a hole if it's not working. So make sure you're looking at the data, Tom. But that's a great question, because ROI, everybody wants to know what ROI is and all that. But it's very important to know, well, what's your customer worth? How much is each customer worth to you, so that you know how much you're willing to spend to get them. I hope that makes sense, Tom, but thank you. I have another question from Jen on chat. Can you recommend ways to increase your social media following? Yes. So first of all, if anybody's watched Fake Famous, it's a new documentary. It's focused primarily on Instagram, and you just see like how fake it can be and how you can buy followers and how you can buy bots and all this other stuff. And let's not talk about that. Let's talk about like real, because that's one approach, but let's talk about real engagement and real followers and building a real following. It's going to go down to whether you're a B2B or B2C, or you're a little bit of both. But I think LinkedIn has a lot of opportunity for both paid and organic increase of followers if you're in the B2B space. And one of the things with LinkedIn that's different from, I would say, Facebook and Instagram, which are connected, is that with LinkedIn, you can tag people, you can mention their names, and there's a higher likelihood of it going viral. Like you can get a lot of engagement on LinkedIn simply by tagging someone in your post or mentioning someone in your reply. Basically, everyone in their friends list will see your post and see your content. So I think LinkedIn, posting something and having anybody you tagged share it or reply and tag somebody else, or tag people that are in pictures, document meetings and post it and tag everybody that was in the meeting on LinkedIn, and then have them comment. And at the end of your Zoom meeting or at the end of your conference, say, hey, everybody, we're gonna share this on LinkedIn. Please share it when you see it, or please like it, or please comment when you see the post. That's going to increase engagement. And to me, that organic engagement is so much more valuable than the paid engagement, but it should be part of the strategy. I think if you do both, LinkedIn is great. I'm going to mention Clubhouse because it's brand new, and I've been in a weekly Thursday night room to kind of get my feet wet with the platform. I think that if you have anyone on your team that does speaking, or if your company does any kind of engagement on fundraising or anything like that, definitely get on it. It's invite only. But everybody knows somebody, and if you engage on it, they give you more invites. And it's a great platform because it's brand new. And so when something's brand new, it's like you can actually build a solid foundation on it versus playing catch up like you do on some of the other platforms. So definitely check it out. It's brand new. It's essentially like listening in on it's like a conference call that you never know who might be on, or think of it as a Zoom without video. So you don't have the pressure of how do you look or whatever. It's strictly audio right now. And I think it has a lot of potentials, and it's brand new. So I would suggest you get on there.
What is the name again, please?
Clubhouse.
What is it?
It's in the chat. Clubhouse.
Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Clubhouse. Okay. Clubhouse.
It's kind of the latest social platform.
And I want to just be conscious that it's 1 o'clock, and I know some folks might have other places to be. So if you're here and you have to go, I thank you for being here. We probably have room for 1 or 2 more questions, but quickly, if anyone would like to turn on their video, I would love to take a screenshot, speaking of content, and would love to tag folks and companies and things on our social, as well as share it with Peralta's team. So if anyone wants to hop on, we can take a group photo. So, all right. I will take the photo, assuming everyone who wants to be in it is in it, as a screenshot in 3, 2, 1. Tease. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for hanging in there with the beginning part. And let's see, let me get a good sound effect here.
Really good presentation.
Yes,
Thank you.
very good. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate everybody taking time on a Friday to listen in. And if you think of anything else, my email is ramon@peraltadesign.com. I'll get back to you. I'd love to do a one-on-one with you as well. So thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ramon. Great
Thanks.
presentation.
Have a good weekend. Awesome stuff.
Everyone.